Hey, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Qasim, and today I've got with me the Anker 622 magnetic battery pack. This is part of Anker's new MagGo lineup, which are a bunch of accessories that magnetically attach to your MagSafe iPhone. Now, before I start this video, I just want to say I'm not sponsored by Anker. I bought this at my local Best Buy for the retail price of $59.99, so I could share my honest thoughts with you. So first and foremost, I'd like to talk about the design of the Anker MagGo Battery Pack. Let's start with the back here. You've got a foldable kickstand. So this very much feels like a smart folio cover that you get for your iPad. So if you've ever felt one of those, that's what it's like. This flips out, turns into a little kickstand for your iPhone while it's charging. We're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail later. Now, all around the edges here, you've got like squared off edges, and they are a hard plastic. So that's all around. And then on the back side, which is basically going to be the part that connects to your phone, you've got the MagSafe magnet, the alignment magnet, and then you've got a very soft touch feeling material. This feels like the Apple silicone cases. So this is not going to damage your phone in any way. Now down here at the bottom, you've got a bunch of other things like the button. So this button is what you press to see the status of your battery pack. So this is going to show you how much battery you have left. Now speaking of the status, you have 4 indicator lights. So you can consider each light to be like a 25% indicator. And then you've also got a 5th light, which is your charging light for when you're charging the battery pack. Here in the middle, you've got a USB-C connection. And what's cool about this is that not only do you charge the battery pack via a USB-C cable, but you can also connect a USB-C cable to charge other devices like an iPad or whatever you've got with you. Now, overall, the design of the Anker battery pack is really great. The only problem with the design is the size of the battery pack. You see, this has a 5000 milliamp battery inside of it, and because of that large battery, this means that this is going to be larger than something like the Apple MagSafe battery pack. So when you put this on a 13 mini, it's not only wider, but it also hangs off at the bottom here. Now this could not be a problem for you, but for me personally, I like things to be aesthetically pleasing to look at, and this for me is not pleasing. Matter of fact, when I am holding this with the 13 mini, it feels like I'm holding the battery pack and not the phone anymore. And that is with a case on. So if you put this on the naked mini, then there's even a bigger difference between the width of the battery pack itself and the phone. Now I've also got an iPhone 13 Pro, and with that, it actually fits nice if you have a case on it that is thick enough. If you have a slim case, it is still going to hang off the bottom of the actual phone, which again, to me, just doesn't look right. But I mean, if that's something that doesn't bother you, you don't have to worry about that whatsoever. Now, this does fit the 13 Pro Max and the 12 Pro Max perfectly fine due to the larger size of both of those phones. But I don't know if you are really going to be buying a battery pack for either of those two phones, simply because their battery life is a lot better. But if you do have a Pro Max model, then you're going to be happy because it's going to fit perfectly fine. Now, another thing I don't like about this battery pack is the squared off edges here on the back. And you see they put this in because of the kickstand, but to be honest, take away the kickstand and give me some nice curves, because that was something I did like about the Apple MagSafe battery pack when I did a review of it. And the curves are really nice. But see here, the problem is that when you have this on your phone and you're using your phone for long periods of time, that's when it becomes a little bit of a problem, because these squared edges start to dig into your hand and it can become uncomfortable. With something like the 13 mini, I haven't noticed it that much, but with something like the 13 Pro, you're gonna notice it a lot more because that phone is also bigger. This being compact, it doesn't bother me all that much, but on the 13 Pro, definitely something that I don't like, because when I have it on there, it's just uncomfortable, and that makes this battery pack not really usable for me. Now lastly, let's talk about this kickstand in a little bit more detail. So right here at the top, they've got this little flap and you can pull it out. And then this part here magnetically attaches to like the center of the battery pack. And you can set your phone down in landscape or vertically, and it's gonna sit there and you can watch your favorite videos without any problem whatsoever. The only problem I did have with the kickstand is that even with something like the 13 mini, it does wobble a lot if you have to respond to, let's say, a text message or any other kind of notification. So that is one thing to keep in mind. But if you're just going to be setting it on a desk and just watching videos while the phone is charging, you're not going to have any issue whatsoever. Next up, I'd like to talk about charging, which is something the Anker MagGo Battery Pack definitely shines at. But it does have a few drawbacks, which I'll explain a little bit later. This has a 5,000 milliamp battery, and it charges at a speed of 7.5 watts. In comparison to the Apple MagSafe Battery Pack, that is 2.5 watts faster. So this is definitely going to charge your phone a lot faster. Now, with the 13 mini or the 13 Pro, I've noticed that when I go to charge them, in 2 hours, I'm able to go from 25% all the way up to 90, sometimes 95, depending on how much I'm using my phone in between. Now, one thing I will mention is that if you are using your phone a lot more, since this doesn't have any software integration like the Apple MagSafe Battery Pack does, your phone doesn't realize that this is a battery pack. It just thinks that it's charging with a regular charger. So it does a lot of background intensive things that normally wouldn't be happening with something like the Apple MagSafe Battery Pack. And that is why I have noticed that both the battery pack and my phone get a lot hotter when I have this. Now, if you just have this in your pocket, let's say you're walking around, you're outside, and you've just slapped your phone onto here, but you put it in your pocket like it's not being used, this is not even going to get warm. Like, you can't even notice it. Like right now I have it on here, nothing. There's no heat being generated. But when you do start using this, especially like for phone calls or anything like that, that's when it really starts to get hot. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. Another thing I tested with the charging is to see how fast this would charge my phones as a power bank. So connecting via USB-C to Lightning. And with both my 13 mini and 13 Pro, I was able to get a good 30% increase in my battery, sometimes even more. So this as a power bank also works really well. I didn't test it out with anything like an iPad or anything like that, simply because I don't really see myself charging things like my iPad on the go. And for that, I have bigger, heavy-duty power banks that I keep, especially when I'm traveling. Now, last but not least, would I recommend this product to you as opposed to something like the Apple MagSafe Battery Pack? Because if you've been on my channel before, you know that I've done 2 different videos on it. And that to me is a really versatile product. And I still stand by that. Even after using this, I just don't like the size of this battery pack. You see, the problem is that everybody wants to combine a power bank with a portable battery pack for your phone. I think that's just completely wrong. When I think of a battery pack for my phone, I want something to be as slim and as ergonomic as possible. I want to be able to put it on my phone and still use my phone comfortably, whether that's a mini phone or a Pro Max or the 13 Pro. And this for me just doesn't do that. This is really bulky and it's not comfortable to hold when you use it. The other problem is that the alignment magnet is really weak, and this will constantly wobble around in your hands when you do use it. I still prefer the Apple MagSafe Battery Pack. A lot of you might actually like the fact that this lets you charge other things via USB-C, but I'm not going to use a small phone battery pack for charging my other devices. I'd rather have a dedicated power bank which can do all of that. But for my phone, having something slim like the Apple MagSafe Battery Pack is perfect for me. As a matter of fact, if Apple can make that slimmer, I'd even appreciate it even more, because I just want something comfortable to take with me in a bag or in my pockets, so that way if I ever do run low, then I can just slap that on, charge my phone, and be good to go. It is almost every single day that I use my Apple MagSafe Battery Pack with my 13 mini. My 13 mini from 9 to 5 p.m., it drops down to around 40%. And that's when I usually attach the Apple MagSafe battery pack to it to keep me going through the rest of the day. There are times where I'm using it more, and then there's times where I'm not using it that much. I'll put it on there for an hour, get like a little 30% boost, take off the Apple MagSafe battery pack and put it aside. Which also brings me to another thing, which is the software integration. This doesn't have that. And if you look at these status indicators, you have 4 indicators, right? So you would think that it's 25% for each indicator. So if you have 1 bar left, then that means you have 25%. That's just not the case, because sometimes you'll put this on your phone and you'll charge it up for a little while, take it off, and you'll see 2 bars left. And you'll think that, okay, I have 50% battery to go. But that's just not the case. Next time when you slap it onto your phone, you'll notice that after 10 minutes, it's just going to drop down to just 1 bar left. Now suddenly you thought you had 50%, but now you only have 25%. And that's another place where I like the Apple MagSafe battery pack, because it gives you that percentage. I put it on my phone for about an hour and I take it off, and sometimes it has 40% and other times it has like 50% battery. But I know that it has that much still left to go. And the other thing is that the software integration and that just working with my iPhone to make sure it doesn't heat up, to make sure that it doesn't damage my battery in the long run, that to me is more important as opposed to this. But I will say that if they make the minor changes that I've suggested, like removing the kickstand, curving the edges, and slimming down the size a little bit, this will be perfect. This would be something that I would definitely want to use a lot more. You see, at the end of the day, you need to just take into consideration all of these things and decide what is more important for you. Like, for example, for me, it is more important that I have that software integration. Just because this is $40 cheaper doesn't make this automatically such a great product. I saw a lot of videos where they just showed this product as such an awesome product, but when I actually got this and I've been using it for more than a month, that's when I realized that this does have a lot of drawbacks, even though it is cheaper and it does seem to look like the perfect battery pack. It's definitely not the perfect battery pack for me. With that said, thank you so much for your time. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful in deciding whether or not the Anker 622 battery pack is the right one for you. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you still have any questions or with anything that you'd like to say. And like always, take care, and I will see you in the next video.